You know, the more I hear that music, the more I like it. I'm Chris, I'm the Long Box Punk, and we are live for another brand new episode. You are not having deja vu. You are not seeing double. We are happy to welcome Aaron back onto the show. Dude, thanks so much for hanging out with me again, this time sharing all of the things about Amor Patris with me.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me back. Yeah, it's been very busy over the last couple of months.
I believe it. You wrapped up the Ice and Bone, and then immediately went into the pre-launch for Amor Patris. So we're gonna get into horror. We're gonna get into all of those things, which I love talking about. There's nothing better than horror comics, and so I'm always stoked to talk to people that are writing horror comics. I've got plenty of good questions for you, but for those that don't know you, shame on you for not watching our first episode, but maybe just give them a recap of how you got into horror, specifically in the realm of comics. Let's start there.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of horror ever since I was a kid. Watching my first one, I actually think I started with Alien
Okay.
when I was a wee nipper. Um, I actually got into comics kind of very late because I originally wrote Enenra, original comic, as a TV script, and got with an agency. They were shopping it around, didn't get much traction, but one of the agents said it would make a really kick-ass graphic novel.
Mm.
And luckily, one of the artists on their books was Ezekiel, who did the the Eternals for that. The first issue took so long because he's actually drawing it off the TV script, not an actual comic strip.
Oh wow.
So I had to go back and revamp everything. So it's a lot more streamlined now. But yeah, he's done the whole series to date for Enenra. He's the same artist who does Blood and Fire and Ice and Bone. So I'll keep him very busy. So as soon as he finishes Ice and Bone issue 2, and Amor Patris is finished, I'm getting ready for Enenra issue 7. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so
Always balancing all of the things.
I try. Whether it succeeds is another matter.
Fair, fair. How do you like, as a writer, how do you keep up with or maintain like different vibes on all three books while also like producing them simultaneously?
I don't really launch them until they're at least complete in outline.
Okay.
So Amor Patris is completely written. All scripts are done, finalized. I Before I send them to the artist, I'd say once, fingers crossed, this campaign finishes, gets funded, I'll basically, because I've not looked at the script for so long, I'll
Mm.
go through it, iron out any kind of mistakes in there, and then throw it to Hernan, and then he does his magic. Um, but for like Enenra, it's all I'm actually writing the third book arc at the moment,
Okay.
but the actual outline is complete for all of it. That's 16 issues. So each four
Jeez.
books is or each 4 issues is a book volume. So getting close to volume 2. Yay. But that kind of helps me kind of compartmentalize when I'm going between, you know, um, different series, because I've actually got a fourth in the background I'm working on as well.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. I'm busy. I can't stop.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like once I started telling myself like, okay, I'm going to write down the ideas that I have and the stories that I have and that I've been encouraged to like write out, I suddenly had like an influx of just like, oh, I would literally like wake up at 3 a.m., have a super vivid dream and be like, I need to write that down because there's something there. And so like I now have a running Google Doc of just comic ideas, and it's got like paragraphs. Some of them are just like dad's story about meeting his father-in-law's brother and possibly taking over the mob in Pittsburgh. Like, and that's just a thing. And then, whenever I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got some time, and I'll go back through that. And some of them I read, and I'm like, I don't even remember thinking this. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I kind of swap between writing the comics, and I'd actually write novels as well. And like I'm driving, dropping my son off at D&D, I'm just in the zone,
Yeah.
and an idea pops in my head of a, a side character. I'm like, oh, that kind of rings a bit, makes him a bit more important. So I actually made a completely different side character for a novel I'm kind of just writing notes on at the moment. This is dark fantasy stuff.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, you don't know when it's going to hit. I try and write it as soon as it pops in. Not obviously when I'm driving, but when I get home and it's still fresh.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's remarkable when the spark hits and where it leads to. Because I tend to, if it's a brand new idea, I won't write anything down.
Mm,
If it stays with me for a couple of weeks, I keep coming back to it, then I'll
yeah.
start writing that idea down, and then kind of either give it a few more weeks and I'll come back to it and like, yeah, it's bollocks. Or I kind of make a treatment, which is like a page, 2 pages of the kind of a brief outline of the story. And then, I kind of dabble with other things, and then I come back and rewrite that treatment as an actual outline. Usually, if it's a comic, I'll separate them into what happens in each issue, and
Okay.
then I'll then dive into the scripting format. That's generally how I go about writing. It seems to work.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just going from these little notes and just kind of, because I use so many different ways of writing them. I've got
Yeah.
my phone on my app phone. I've got my laptop. It's trying to merge all the ideas into one location.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the trick, is keeping things like organized and easy to find, so that when you do feel that spark, it's easy to pull up and like jump right back into where you were,
Yeah,
instead of spending 20 minutes like, which app is that on Notes? Is that in Google Keep? Did I jot that down in like a text to myself? Is that on a Google Doc somewhere? Where's the Google Doc? What the hell did I call it? Why am I
yeah,
talking about Google Docs? And then like my brain then just spirals and keeps going. And eventually I'm like, what was I doing?
yeah.
I don't know.
I
I'll just go
I
home.
tend to right now. I actually tend to only use two places to write notes: on my laptop, where I actually have a Word doc work titled Notes, and I just write everything in there,
Yeah.
or Google Docs on my phone. So I know there is two places to look now, where I used to have like five, and it
Yeah.
was a nightmare.
Yeah. 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 I keep one, I've got one Google Doc of all of my like paragraph, whatever ideas. And then the ones that I keep coming back to, I'll create their own document within like a comic ideas folder in my
Mm,
Google Drive. And then those I'll title like whatever. Like I have one that's just like historical mice, and I had an idea about that. And then like I've got all the notes and stuff that I've had, and then thoughts that I've had about it from there. And
yeah,
so I like, that's how I try and keep things at least in some sort of order. But I mean, to your point, like it can strike at any time.
yeah,
And I took my mom to a doctor's appointment on Thursday, and as I was sitting there in the room, as the doc was in there talking to her, just something he said triggered something in me of a previous idea I had had. But I was like, I can't just pull out my phone and start jotting and so I was like, yeah, okay. And so I'm trying to keep the notes running. I'm still trying to keep it, and I lost it. It was gone by the
uh,
time he was out of the room and I got her home, and I was like, God, crap, what was that idea? No idea. Okay, well, whatever. It must have been bad anyway. Who cares?
yeah. I mean, it's annoying because you get frustrated because you think that's the ticket, the golden acorn that's gonna make
Yeah,
But I mean, if it's meant to be, it'll come back. It
yeah,
will have another spark and like, oh yeah, that bit, and then
yep,
it'll come back.
yep. Yeah. So, okay. So, as you're writing, and I love hearing how you get from idea to eventually scripting, like when you're, because I was just facing this and trying to figure it out and I had no idea what I was doing. And I started the show for me to learn how to do stuff. So I'm really just asking questions that I want to learn from. So when you're scripting and you're trying to keep tabs on like breaking an arc into individual issues and like emphasizing the page turn and like
Yeah.
the impact of the page turn and that sort of thing, like how do you figure out like the pacing of what's a panel versus what's not a panel versus like do you do like rough layouts to get an idea of,
No,
you don't do any of that?
I don't do any rough layouts at all.
What?
It's all in here.
So has
Yeah,
that been a conversation with Hernan of like, hey, this is like, here's the script, but like, this is what I had in my brain?
well, I do say like panel one, like if it's like a long across the top, I'll put like in brackets long. If it's a
Okay.
large panel, then I'll just in brackets I'll put large. But generally, I kind of lean into the artist's eye. So I
Okay.
do the same with Ezekiel. Like as long as the main points in my script are hit, he can add panels, he can take panels away and thinking you don't really need it there, but maybe in the next page kind of thing.
Mm,
I'm very fluid in that as long as the dialogue and the main points that I'm trying to make a hit, he can go nuts. I mean, he's been doing this a lot longer than me. So I kind of go into his expertise because it's his artistic, flair, if you want to call it a better
yeah.
word. That's it's such an artistic medium that if they feel that they can make things better or change things around, then I am all for it. I mean, like
Yeah.
sometimes I get so narrow focused on the script and the dialogue, it's hard to see the bigger picture. So I definitely lean into that a lot more than I used to. Before I did kind of like, oh, I want panel two next to panel one and such and such and such.
Yeah.
But the more I've written and the more I work with the artists, I think they flourish more if they have more freedom.
Mm,
Where some artists prefer to have straight, narrow. I want you to tell me everything that's in that panel. Everything that happens, so I can do everything, and I'm gonna follow you to the letter, which I kind of don't like. I kind of do like a more partnership where they give me feedback and like I said, they flourish with their creativity, and that's
yeah.
kind of what I'm kind of pushing towards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that goes into kind of like as someone who's trying to learn like writing for comics and how to draw and like all of those things. I've read sample scripts from a bunch of authors that I have hold in high regard, and some of them are very meticulous. Like in this panel, in the background is all of this X-Men stuff and like all this other things, and that like some of them are very much similar to like Robert Kirkman's Walking
Yeah,
Dead of like, here's what happens on this page. And like, that's it.
yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so there's more
Like,
than one way to
yeah,
skin a cat.
so
Got it.
for Ice and Bone, I have a fight scene that like there's two samurais attacking Nakaki, and it's like, okay, you do like whatever you like with the fight scenes, but it must end on this panel because it
Mm,
goes to the next one on the next page, kind of leads into it. So I just leave it to him. It's like you can go nuts,
yeah.
go, as artistic as you want. You can do 3 panels, you can do 6 panels. I'm leaving it to him. It's his artistic flair. It goes mental sometimes. So I kind of like I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah.
Um, but unless there's something really specific I'm aiming for, then yeah, it's really kind of like I said, it's a partnership. He's putting his name on the comic too. So I try not to push them as well for the
Mm,
time frames and things like that. It's like if
yeah.
he's a couple of weeks late, I don't really have deadlines, to be honest, apart from the shipping deadlines, and I give it 6 months usually, if not longer, and the Kickstarter from launching to shipping,
Yeah.
and generally, he's kind of 4-ish months because he just sends me the whole book. And
That's right. I
Hernan
remember you
actually,
saying that. Yeah.
yeah. So and Hernan's pretty similar. I think he sent me a few sketches, like rough sketches and stuff, but the majority of the pages he sent me finished, and I think I changed one panel, no, two
Mm,
panels, like in the entire book.
that's awesome.
So that's I'm really lucky with how I've found these artists because Hernan did some variant covers for Ice and Bone. Um, so yeah, it's been amazing, and that's kind of how I tend to get a feel for artists, to getting them to do variant covers.
Yeah.
And if I'm happy with how they worked, how we do together, then I kind of have projects that they fit into. Then I kind of knock on their door and say, "Hey, I got this idea.
Yeah.
Are you interested?"
Remember me?
Yeah,
That's awesome. And
I'm
I
the
gotta
I'm the guy who
say,
keeps annoying you.
do you wanna work some more and stuff?
Yeah. Do you want
Um,
to be friends and work together? And I'll pay you. I'll pay you to be my friend.
right. There's money in it for you. All you got to do is draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like the feel in Amor Patris is just like holy bonkers good. I like there's I knew man, I love an intentional background.
Yeah.
I like one of the panels or the pages, and this is a magazine size
Mhm.
book,
Yep.
which is like my comics kink. I love magazine size books. I don't know what it is about them, but like
Yeah.
it's bigger, and having an artist like Hernan who you can show off and like flex these creepy, heavy black and white
Oh yeah.
panels is just like, man, it hits all of the things in my book. My proverbial book. I don't have a literal book. But like I'm trying to find the pan. Yeah, there's like a glitchy, like tormented looking panel that I just all right, fine. We'll show it because I have the technology.
Dun,
Uh,
dun, dun.
it
Drum roll,
might
please.
it might take just a second to figure out how to get it. Okay, so I want to show. Oh, why'd you do that? This is the beauty of live, ladies and gentlemen. Is
Yeah.
there? Okay,
Technology.
there it is. This is the one I want to show. It's on your page, so it's not a spoiler. I'm not Paul Heyman. Share screen window.
I think I
No,
know with the one you're talking about because it's on the second page.
this one.
Yep, that's page 2.
Dude, that bottom panel is outrageous. Like
Yeah.
how freaking cool that is. And that like I guess that's one of those like what direction was he given to come up with this page?
I actually gave him a reference picture that I found on the
Okay.
internet, which is like I kind of wanted something like through like a TV or VHS that's
Yeah.
like heavily distorted because it's being affected by the demonic presence. And I found this image, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so amazing. So I actually do include uh, images if it's something that I kind of want to reference in the book,
Okay.
and so that was one of them. And yeah, he did a freaking amazing job.
Dude,
I mean,
this page
Hernan
alone,
obviously
man.
sold his soul or something because it's his stuff is amazing.
Yeah. The first page, like holy, is this the first one in issue
Yep.
2?
That's the first one of issue
First
1.
of issue 1, okay. See,
Yep.
and that's why I did the catch-up tier so that I could have the like, what a way to start a book. Like, immediately with this page, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's like," and I was wondering when I saw it, like, is this how it starts?
Mhm.
With
Yep.
this image? Like, oh
Yep.
my god.
I don't pull any punches. If you want a horror comic, you're gonna get a horror comic.
So good. At like the broken back and the glitchy Man, it's so good. If I had like unlimited funds and you had original pages, which forgive me because I don't remember writing that down that you do, but like that would be a page that I'd be like, I need to own that page. But I
Mm,
don't have unlimited funds, so I can't do that.
yeah.
So it's all just, I guess, lip service, but like I love that page so much. But like it just the heavy blacks and the like very minimal like white in these preview
Yes.
pages. I love that, and I can't imagine that that's accidental.
No,
Um,
that's all Hernan. Because originally I was kind of tossing between color and black and white,
okay,
and as soon as he sent me those pages, black and white,
yeah,
any color in there would just ruin it.
yeah, it just is like, oh, it's so good. I'm so stoked to get these books. Because yeah, it just looks like insanely cool. And I it's no secret that I love horror and horror comics, and all things horror, honestly. But like well executed, and as I get deeper into reading more and more horror comics, I do prefer black and white horror
Mm,
over full color for the most part, because like if it's an old, like the old Vault of Horror and the Phantom Stranger and like the super old like 50s 60s 70s horror
yeah.
books, it's the simplified color palettes and stuff. I just like I think it's so freaking cool in its like nostalgia.
Mm,
But then when it's black and white, it feels like it could be in one of those old school style zines that was printed on like recycled paper and stapled by whoever's handing them out, like on a college campus. Like, hey, I made a zine. Do you $2?
yeah.
And I'm like, I just need to eat grilled cheese or something. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, it feels like these belong in like really good and really well written horror and well executed horror comics should
Mm,
just all be a part of like these magical horror zines of just like, yep, here's a masterpiece of just an anthology of horror comics. It's all black and white, and you will be terrified. Like, man, I would give an arm and a leg for that. Like, forget all the Marvel
yeah.
omnibuses,
On the buses, on the bus.
major collections.
Yeah.
Forget all of them. I would spend all of my money on just collected black and white horror zines like that. I don't know if that, I mean, I've got like some of they're collecting the old like eerie and
Mm,
creepy and all of those, and I've started collecting those in the trades, because like who's got time or the money to buy
yeah.
the original floppies? But I don't know what it
I
is.
mean, it's the old kind of, even with horror films, it's like
Yeah,
every time something bad or scary happens, it's in the dark. So nine
yeah,
times out of 10, you're not going to have any color.
yeah. I've developed a deeper appreciation for like when I started making. I found somebody on like a subreddit or something that did like a 30 days of horror, and they had different like styles of movie to find, like watch a slasher, watch a sequel, watch a movie with a number in the title, like random stuff like that. But
Mm,
one of the parts of the list was decades, and you watch a movie from every decade. And ever since I started that, like being intentional about watching a horror movie from the 30s or from the 20s, um,
okay.
like I I don't know how else to not sound like a broken record, but like there's something magical about watching a horror movie in black and white from 100 years ago that just still is like holds up on the creepy level. Like
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi still is a terrifying dude in the original Dracula movie. Like the lighting and the effects and the pacing of it all still hold up
Mm,
now. And I just think like the same can be said about horror comics. And the more I get into finding like pre-code horror books at conventions and stuff, and when I have the money to buy one, because they're usually really expensive, I'm like, I'll buy like two. Can I get $2? But like then I end up and I'm slowly building like a short box of, and I look down because I have all of my yeah. all of my like old horror comic finds. Like
Oh, okay.
1963, Outer Limits #1. Like, get out of here. It's a low grade, but I don't care because it's mine and it's
Yeah.
#1. You know what I mean? But like, that doesn't count.
That wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know how that ended up there, but like the old Gold Key and the old the next one, like these covers are just insanely good, and I love that more and more people are like the resurgence of the Boris Karloff of like these magazines are starting, and like they kickstarted recently. And here's the most recent two that I found of Phantom Stranger, Crypto Shadow. Like I don't know, man. There's something about it that I would much rather read these than like superhero comics,
Yeah.
because I grew up on superhero comics. And I'm not saying that it's a boring genre. Like, don't come attacking me, because I still love well done superhero comics. It feels almost like a quantity over quality,
Mm.
whereas horror feels more like people that are making horror comics are horror people. And so they're making the comics that they want to make because they're scary. And
Yeah.
like,
Well,
it's
try to be anyway.
right. Right. Because it doesn't always work, like that's fine. But it still is, I don't know. I think it's the best genre that there is. And we might have talked about this last time you were on, but like playing around in horror as a massive umbrella, but then still having like family drama or relational tension, or,
Yeah.
the psychological or the slasher, like whatever. There's so many different avenues that you can go. Like, do you find yourself drawn to one particular type? Like, give me the like elevator pitch for Amor Patris, even though I'm already in, as you know. But like, give me the elevator pitch for that for anybody that might not have checked out the campaign yet.
Yep. Amor Patris is a supernatural horror that follows Sheriff Reese in a small town. He answers a call from the dispatch to a local farm where he unknowingly finds madness, death, and his investigation unearths exorcisms which are real, implicating the Vatican as well. So yeah, that's the short and sweet version of it. The longer version is the issue 2 introduces a father and son who are going across America performing unsanctioned or unofficial exorcisms.
Mm.
Um, and it kind of the investigation that the sheriff does, unearths more kind of secrets, and the Vatican kind of is in the kind of backgrounds, kind of it's kind of this dark entity that's kind of overseeing everything. So yeah, lots to come. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It is a
Yeah.
10-issue series, so this is
Okay.
number 2. So yeah, it's a long way, a little bit to go, but I'm hoping. We're at 65% funded with I think 12 days left. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and the thing too is like you've got 76 backers, which is crazy. You're under $1,000 away from goal. I'm doing that sales pitch like it's less than $20, 1999. You're you're 1960 of 2950. So, you're 990 away from goal. No, that's not right. Is it? Yeah. I don't know. It's less than 1,000. My brain isn't mathing right now,
Yeah,
so I'll stop trying.
nine
Yeah,
ninety. Yeah,
yeah.
all
See,
right.
I can
Have
math.
confidence in yourself.
Yeah, mom. Uh, but it's not just a badass comic that you've got a ton of like just freaking awesome add-ons that I just think are like, how do you come up with what you're going to do for add-ons?
Panic, and then try, try and think of something cool. I tend to go through other campaigns and see what they've done, and get either inspiration of them or everyone does t-shirts, so that's one big thing to do, and then it kind of just rolled on from there. So the mugs, the bookmark, coaster, the t-shirts, like I said, and just kind of go from there, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
you've got a button which you're doing 2
yeah,
giveaways for.
yep,
I was like, "Well, I have to add it on because I need to make sure that I get that button because I don't
mhm.
have enough, Aaron. I don't know
Yeah.
if you
It
noticed
comes
all
it comes with a no exorcism, warranty. So if you do perform an exorcism and get possessed, we are not liable.
perfect. And it's, it's like witty stuff, like including that in the description of the giveaway and stuff that I'm like, this guy gets it. Like we're here, comics are a good time and we're all here for a good time. And you're
Yeah.
providing it to anybody that's even just checking out the campaign page. Because yeah, you've got I wrote them all down because I want to prove that I take notes. You've got the t-shirts, which you have 2 different designs for, 4
Yep.
colors of each. You've got a wine glass, you've got a ceramic coffee mug, you have a coaster, you've got the button, you've got a book, you've got 2 bookmarks, and you've got
No, it's one
3.
bookmark. It's front and
Oh,
back.
it's the 2 sides.
Yeah.
See, you've got a bookmark, like I said, and then you've got the metal covers, which at some point I'm gonna have the money in my budget to get a metal cover because there's something just freaking awesome about those metal covers. But because I've never bought one or backed at that level for anybody before, is that like actually the comic book and it like you have to open a piece of metal to read the book, or is it just like
Yep.
a
I
copy of
have one actually in here in my pile of junk.
perfect?
Where was it?
Again, the beauty of a
Da-da-da.
live stream, folks.
Live stream, baby.
This is
You
where
know
the
you love it.
magic happens. We didn't plan this.
There we go. I know I had it somewhere. Da-da-da. Don't fall, please don't fall.
It's all we need is everything to just come crashing
Yeah,
out of there.
that's just ignore what's in there. Okay, so this is the you see the cover.
That's
It's all.
insane.
Don't know if you can hear that, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's the cover.
that's so
It's one of
rad.
the variants from issue 1. I
Yeah,
loved it so much, I had to have one myself.
absolutely. Yeah, man. That like those metal covers just are
That
slick.
that's so cool. I mean, even the little trade cards, they're
Yeah.
metal, and they are so cool. I mean, I had them for Ice and Bone, the first one, and I printed
Okay.
them all off. And for the backers, I'm like, oh, I so want one. They look so cool.
I know. I honestly I've gotten some trading cards that were like added in as extras on plenty of campaigns. And so now I'm like, I think I still have some empty trading card sleeves in my old binders. Like I gotta start putting all of these into
Yeah.
sleeves because they're just piling up in a bag of like random Kickstarter reward things that I've got. But I
Yeah, I mean,
love the like there's something about that metal trading card because even like with the of course comics tribe does metal bookmarks as
mm,
like stretch goals, and
yeah,
so I've got a handful of those because their campaigns go bonkers. And like it's just I don't know, there's something about holding a metal bookmark and like using it that it's just like, man, this is slick. And
yeah,
so like
they're
the
pretty
metal
cool.
trading cards would be
Yeah,
top tier stuff. So, and like you've got regular prints as well that you can add on,
yes.
as we can see, and it's all the like spooky. What, like, why did you choose with this one to go with the magazine size as opposed to the typical like whatever this measurement is?
All my Kickstarters are magazine size,
Okay,
all of them. So it's something extra for the backers, because they're giving their hard-earned cash to us, to back my project. So it's a little extra for them, and I always think that even though it's just a little extra, I think it's worth it for the art. They,
yeah,
it makes them pop, and it's amazing. So
yeah,
that's I kind of lean more towards making the artwork, sing, but it's definitely something to give back to the backers. Because I'm very humble in that they support me, and I wouldn't be here without them. I would
mm,
not. without Kickstarter, and the hundreds of backers I've had over my, different series, I wouldn't be able to create the comics without them. Full stop.
Yeah. And that's also a great thing to like always be thinking about, is like the backer experience. Because I don't know that all Kickstarter creators do that. And like I've looked at some campaign pages and I'm like, this is very minimal, or like it doesn't give me what I really want to see as a potential backer. And with showing the example pages, with showing like the renderings and or even the examples of all of the add-ons, and like showing everything of like, hey, here's all of the stuff exactly as you would see it, should you choose to add it on or back it or whatever. Like I just think that's like, that gives me as a backer or potential backer like a good experience, because then I know exactly what I'm getting into.
Yeah, I mean, I try and be as open and upfront as I possibly can. I mean, I tend to, even if it's a new product, new comic, I tend to do 8-ish pages depending on the storyline, to then do the Kickstarter with covers to show what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So, and I try and lock the same artist for the whole series because I want consistency.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Hernan does the whole Amor Patris series. He's very keen on it. He's loving it. I am too. I'm loving his stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to find that niche audience out there, the fan base, to kind of swoop in and save my day.
Yeah. And speaking of covers, you've got the homage to the Nun movie poster.
Yep.
And actually, I have the technology. We can show this. We'll just do all the covers. You want to just do all the covers? Great idea. Sure. Let's just do all the covers. So this is the main cover, yeah?
Yep, that's the issue 2's cover, yes.
Okay. So we've got this one here, which is just like a visually striking image. Here's the homage, which like, what made you, did you reach out like, hey, I want to get an homage cover from like the Nun poster?
Yes.
Or was that okay?
Yeah, each issue is getting a specific film poster, variant.
Yeah.
So this one is the Nun. Before the issue, on issue 1, it was The Exorcist.
Okay. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And did you go with the Nun because of the like tie-in with the Vatican?
I did. Well? But I've loved the Nun anyway. I've watched the Nun 2. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, it's one of the horror films I've enjoyed. It does deal with the Vatican, demons, possession. So it's literally what my book is all about. So I can't really get away from it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, as does The Exorcist.
Yep.
And there's the larger, like, close-up version of it. This was one that I was like, as soon as I think I saw this first, and I was like, oh, that's totally the Nun. And then I got to the page and I was like, yeah, idiot. It is like, at least I'm up on my horror movie posters. And so you've got these two, which I think is cool. You've got the package.
Yeah.
Where you've got the version cover, regular, like the cover with the trade, and a desktop wallpaper, which I don't know if I would want that staring back at me on my desktop all the time.
Some people do.
I mean, yeah, mine currently is actually one from another Kickstarter, from my pal John Ward. It's his Memory Machine cover. And then this is my personal favorite cover because, I'm a punk who loves skulls. But this one, like with the fangs and everything too, I just think this is, it's so, and the stark use of like black and white and just the bright red cover definitely feels reminiscent of like the old school slashers that would just have the massive title over top of that. They would have the opening scene, and then blah, and there's like. I just like the whole aesthetic of all of it. This just checks so many things for me. I'm just gonna fangirl over here if you don't mind. But you've also got the package for this cover as well, which I love the wallpaper on this because it also includes the like cabin in the background and the deep dark woods, which gives even more of like what is happening behind that skull, which is just great. So, and then okay, so I had it's my show. I have questions. The poly bag, is this like the bag that the book goes in is printed on?
Hold that thought.
Holding that thought.
Back to the Cabinet of Doom. Yep, this is the right one. There we go.
That's outstanding.
So upside down does help. There we go. So both sides.
So rad. Like, where were you like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna print customized poly bags for the like how what?
Yeah, that actually that idea came from Travis Gibb, who kind of helped me with the because I don't mind if people want to help. I am more than willing to take advice, and he was definitely, because this is a relaunch because I launched it last year. It didn't fund because I think it was kind of more timing. So my cat is annoying me. It kind of hit that Thanksgiving, Christmas time period. So it didn't reach its final goal. And he suggested doing these collector kits. So we have the bag, and then if I can reach in, really wedged in the bottom. So we have the magnets.
Yep.
So they're pretty decent size. And then we have stickers, both the holographic, which is like these ones. So you can see the kind of holographic look. Yeah. And then we have this one, which is like clear. So you can put those on your mug. And it's like the title and the image. So that's all you'll get on the actual. So it's clear background.
Yeah.
So they're part of the kits. And then if you do the deluxe version, you have the choice of virgin covers for metal. Okay. So you get the metal cover, but no title. It's just the image. So that's kind of the idea there.
That's awesome.
People seem to love it in Ice and Bone. Not many people have backed it on this one. So we'll see. Maybe it's something to keep going on the next issue.
Yeah.
If we get there.
Right. And I love, like, you're not the first person to bring up Travis as someone who has helped, and as someone who has been on the show, and as a fan of the stuff that he writes, because Granite State Punk is a great book.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I'm looking forward to finishing the series off.
Yeah, same. But like, he does so much, and I normally, like, I have Facebook, but I don't get on it actively. And I opened it for something, and I like the top post was him, and it was like, hey, just like, what's everybody got going on with like campaigns and stuff. And Gerald von Stoddard is another one that has been on the show that does the same thing of like, if you've got a campaign, like, I'm looking to back some campaigns, post it below, like, tell me about the book, and we'll share them and try. Like, they're selfless indie creators.
Yeah.
And it's people like them that I feel like are just the like superheroes of the indie pardon the pun, of the like indie comics community, because they're constantly, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to like repost this, which as someone who is an indie creator of this show, like, having people share when I'm posting about stuff, and having talked to other creators of like, those shares do mean a lot. And I see it more and more because I'm following more and more creators, but the whole sentiment of like, you don't have to buy my stuff or give me money to support me. Like, you can do it totally free and it honestly means just as much. Like
I think it actually works better if someone else shares your book
yeah,
rather than, me regurgitating the same posts over and over again
yeah,
to various groups. If Travis or someone else shares, it gets more. I think more views because people take notes. Like, oh, he's sharing someone else's work. Why? It must be good. I'll go check it out, kind of thing.
yeah,
So yeah, it definitely helps. Like cross promoting is one of the biggest, I think, ways of getting as an indie creator, getting your stuff out there.
yeah,
Whether it's updates through Kickstarter or swapping your book, issue 1 PDF, whatever, with somebody else. I mean, I've done it a few times before. I still am. I give like Blood and Fire 1 and Enra 1 to creators to help spread the word, and it definitely helps
yeah.
for sure.
And that's a perfect lead in because I wrote down the digital comic bundle of like hitting backer count milestones.
Hmm.
Like, how do you get those or like swap those? How does that exchange happen? Like, are you just reaching out to other creators who you know or have admired or whatever? Like, how does that?
A bit of both. I'm a member on various kind of groups. So I'm on Facebook groups that we have a spreadsheet that has links.
Oh, cool.
So we put our books in there. I'm also a member of Travis Gibbs' creator Discord.
Yep.
So he kind of opens that out every month to various creators to join, and they have a kind of a channel with all the different PDFs in there too.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, I'm also a member of Comics Tribe, Comics Pro, with Tyler. So they have a kind of a comic exchange where they have all the creators in a pool. You can add your comic, so they can then share that out on their campaign, which then opens the door for your book to be looked at by 10, 100 couple. With Comics Tribes, it could be hundreds of potential backers.
yeah.
Granted, a lot of some of Tyler's are more kind of kiddie friendly, so I don't think they're going to be sharing Amor Patris anytime soon. But with their other things they're doing, then hopefully if they pick one of my books, then it could be the icing on the cake that my next launch could kick off really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a trap that I fell into as a backer was, I would get the updates from creators that I like and they'd be, especially when it's like personalized, of not just like, hey, here's some other campaigns and then it's like a link in the copy paste to the top paragraph from the campaign.
Mm.
But and I wish I knew I was going to do this. I wish I knew the name of the guy that does it. But it's Kickstarters and Tea in his updates, and instead of just like, here's the link, here's their description, it's like his personal take on why he likes that book or that campaign. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, here's this creator and they do this and they do this really well. And I really like this aspect of it. And I think like it resonates with people that like my stuff, that you might want to dig into this too. Like, here's the link for it. But giving it that personal touch is like, it's that extra 5%
Mm.
of attention or time or whatever, that when I used to be like a producer and directing and whatever, like it was always that 5% that I was always pushing people to give, of like,
Yeah.
yeah, anybody can share a link or share a campaign or do whatever. But like, if I back a campaign and I hit share, I'm not just going to hit share and then post. Like, I'm going to say something about that book before I post it, because that personal touch of like, black and white horror and like trippy, glitchy, terrifying imagery. Look at this campaign. Check out Amor
Mm.
Patris. Like, doing that takes me what, 5 seconds to say
Yeah.
that off the top of my brain. Like,
Yeah.
it takes no time at all. And yet that I would feel is going to be way better received than if I just like hit share campaign, which also helps because, the algorithm likes to show things, and I have big numbers on some of my follow, like on Blue
Yeah.
Sky. I still don't get it.
Mhm.
And like the engagement's not there on Blue Sky. It's way better on Threads. But it's like that's an exposure thing that I just need to come to terms with, of like, oh my God, like 3,000 people are potentially seeing my stuff. But then you look at the views and you're like, oh, 7 people saw that post. What the hell? Like, how
Yeah,
do you,
it's daunting. It's like that's why I've kind of gone away from Twitter because it's just dead.
yeah,
No one's, I post things, and though I've got, I don't know how many hundreds or a couple of thousand, followers, it's like no one's looking at it. So it's like, well, why are you following me?
yeah, yeah. Why am I even doing it? How many of you are bots? And or
Yeah.
how many of you started this and then just stopped using it?
Mm.
And I have no idea of like, I can't keep up with the 768 people or whatever I
No,
was
I
following
mean,
on
because
Twitter.
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky. I've just started dabbling into that. Um, Threads, TikTok, which I don't really do much with as well. Is there anything else? Am I missing one? I'm sure
Uh,
there's another one.
did you ever get on Mastodon?
No,
Okay, neither did I.
no.
Apparently Blue
Which
Sky
one?
has a brand new rival for Instagram called, I think, Snaps or
Okay. Have you heard of
something.
Is it Lemons 8?
What the hell
I
is
I
that?
I had someone like message me on, and it was like really weird. I thought it was a scam, so I just
Yeah,
deleted it. But I had another one saying, "Please, I want to follow you on this platform." I'm like, I'm not even on it.
that's terrifying.
So why would you want to
Maybe
follow me if I'm not even on it?
maybe they're on it and they're sharing it with you directly as someone who
It was
like that.
highly suspicious.
That's strange. Lemonade,
Yeah,
dude, like, come on. That's a
I
weird
think it was that.
name.
I kind of deleted it and just ignored it, to be honest. So
That's smart. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's
I'm a, I think I'm just kind of concentrating really on Blue Sky, Threads occasionally, Instagram and Facebook. It's like I can't keep up with all the other stuff.
yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, like when I started the show, I was like, okay, I want to have show specific, for these platforms, but then also like I want to keep my personal for those same platforms. And then eventually I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like I'm
Yeah,
posting basically the same exact stuff. I just have family on my personal and like internet friends on the show. And so I was just like, whatever. And so I just went through my personal one from my show account, followed everybody there, like, hey, get the hint. I'm not using my personal one anymore.
yeah,
And like that's where I'm at now, is just similarly, like I don't have capacity to do all of the social networking stuff. So like I'm just Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram only. Like I
mhm,
have Facebook, but only mainly so that I can do live streams using StreamYard, because you have to have a Facebook for that. I don't, whatever.
okay,
So it's like, okay, well, I already have one, so that's fine. But yeah, like it just, and I was like, I'll start a newsletter. I've always wanted to have a newsletter. So I started a Substack, and then I was like, this is taking way too much time.
yeah, yeah.
I
I've got that too. That's the sixth one.
yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna do a live stream on Wednesdays and
Yeah,
whatever, like talk about what I would in my newsletter anyway, but it takes me a fraction of the time because it's a live video and I have
mm.
no problem talking. So
Yeah. I wanted to do it every 2 weeks, but generally not a lot happens in those 2 weeks. So I've kind of gone to like once a month.
yeah,
So it's I'll probably I do need to actually send one out about Amor Patris as well. Give them an update on that. So I'll probably do that this week.
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. And yeah, it's hard to keep track. I'm a writer. I don't do marketing. It seems to be 90% of what I do at the moment is just marketing.
Yeah. That's one of those like untold things that when it's like, oh, I want to do this, like I want to make comics. Okay, cool. Like it's writing and lettering and editing and art and all, like that's what you got to do. Okay, cool. And then you get into it and you get a book and you're like, cool, now what? It's like, well, now you got to go sell it. You got to market it. You got to find your audience. You got to connect with your audience. You got to work cons potentially. You got to do Kickstarters. You got to, and then you suddenly are like, crap, I got to be a salesman and a
which you
market
should have
manager.
done like 6 months ago when you were making the book.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Finding the balance of like showing enough to tease, to entice, but not too much to where they're like, I don't need to buy it. Like trailers, like I don't need to watch a trailer because you give me everything in the movie. So I just stopped watching trailers. But it's that balance that's constantly, and then there's also like regular full-time job and family life, and if you're married, if you have
to
kids,
sleep,
you got to do that too. Like you also have to have time to just turn off your brain and stare in silence at the wall and just contemplate like what the hell you're doing on this rock, and like all of those things. And then suddenly you're like, I don't know what I'm even doing.
Yeah, then you realize you have 5 minutes to do writing.
Yeah. Do you ever just sit and instead of write, think of like, what's your purpose in life? And just get
like
stare
up at the ceiling and like, why am I here?
Yeah.
What's going on?
There's people that get paid to do this full time, but I'm not one of them. But I'm going to act like I am and like write. But instead of writing, I'm going to think about writing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to lose all the time that I set aside to write because I'm thinking about being a writer.
All my books kick ass in here.
Right. I have the pacing and all of the big hits and the conflict and the resolution and the twist. I have all those things.
And the jokes, they're so funny. I laugh hysterically.
I am such a funny person. If you just were in here. No, I don't think anybody would ever want to be in my ADHD. It would just like overwhelm. So my wife found a TikTok thing of like, this is what living with ADHD is like. And they continue to talk about what ADHD is. And then they also add in a video of them like running through the background, just like running. And then like a cat shows up. I'm like, oh, look at the cat. And then they're still talking, but then the other person's still running. And it just overlaps all the things. And she was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, no, that's
you.
That's a Thursday night for me. Yeah. It's a nightmare that I don't think anybody would want to ever experience, but a nightmare that people should experience. Look at this tie back. Is Amor Patris. Is on
I like that.
Right now it goes for another 9 days, 10 days.
I think 12.
11
I would look, but my cat is currently sat on my mouse, so I can't.
Yeah, here again, we have the technology. There's where everything stands.
Days. There we go.
And look, Travis is a backer too. Secretly, I love seeing what other people are backing, because if I have at this point, like there's so many creators that I'm like, I'm backing whatever you put out. I can't keep picking up new creators, but I love being able to see when people that I follow are backing stuff, because then it's like, oh, well, I know what he does. Like, I know what Travis writes and creates. So like, if someone was hesitant, they might be like, oh, well, if he's in it and I like his stuff, maybe I should check it out too. So like, that's just another, like, that's a 5% thing that Kickstarter started doing, of just showing when people that you're following are backing other projects, or even like just take time on their website. And it's got like who's doing what, plus updates from campaigns that you're following. But this is where you're at. You're 76 backers, 11 days to go, or, until Friday, March 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever Eastern EDT is. And isn't it EST?
I think it's supposed to be Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what EDT stands for.
Eastern Daily Time? Default time? We did just have daylight savings time, so maybe it's default and then standard. I don't know. It's whatever. Maybe. It's an acronym. It's 7 o'clock. If you lived in Ohio like I do, that's what it is. So you have until Friday, March 28th to get in and pledge and back Amor Patris. You can do catch-up tiers, digital and physical. So
you can be in the book.
You can be in the book. Crooked Painter, I'm looking at you, because he loves getting in books. And like, there's so many cool things about this campaign, and the artwork alone and the story and all of the things. Like, everybody needs to be backing this now, because I want this book in my hands. I want to hold it. I want to read it. So, as you know that I do, I love doing the show because I get to talk about and with comic creators and comic people and people in the industry. And I understand and recognize that everybody has a different background and different experience. So I love to stop talking and let you have the floor. So this time is yours to say whatever it is you want people to hear from you. And then I got one more thing after that, and then we'll call it a show.
Okay, well, you can find me on Instagram at Wroblewski Aaron. All the links are actually on my profile on the Kickstarter page. I do have Facebook groups for all my series, Enenra, Amor Patris, Blood and Fire, Ice and Bone. I kind of go between those. So if you want to ask me a question, if you're a creator wanting to get into it, please give me a shout. We can get together, give you some advice on what to do, where to start. Yeah, that's about it, really. I am trying to start. I did start it with Ice and Bone issue 2, where I'm doing a art zone where artists can participate and send artwork. I'm not doing it for Amor Patris yet because I don't really think it has the backers yet, kind of. But I am doing it for Enenra number 7. So if watch this space, hopefully it's a new another platform that artists can tap into to, spread their art around and get more more commissions. So that's what I'm hoping to kick off. Like I said, in Enenra 7.
That's awesome. I love that you're doing that for the community as well. Like that's just
I'm
another
trying.
thing
I'm
of
trying.
like it's another opportunity.
Whether it succeeds or just doesn't get the traction, I'll try it every now and again. I've got a handful of artists doing the Ice and Bone. So if I send that off, get all that done, then hopefully it'll springboard and get bigger and bigger as more kind of catch wind of it. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed. You never know.
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. I appreciate, even as a non-artist yet, I appreciate you doing that because it's another opportunity that those artists might not be getting otherwise. So
Yeah,
that might be their only chance to, oh, I can have my artwork seen by a larger audience.
yeah.
So I will always celebrate.
And it's always there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you do, like, say you did the artwork in issue 1 and I'm on issue 7, your artwork is still going to be on the PDF of issue 1. I'm not just going to do it for that campaign and then cut it off
Yeah.
for the rest of them. It's going to be there.
That's cool.
So I'm not sure if the publisher can use them. That might be a bit of a grey area. I'll have to work that out. But for me, sending it out to backers, yeah, 100%. The artwork is staying in the PDF and will be sent out both with the campaign and as like freebies to other creators. So you never know where they're gonna go.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. I dig it. I always appreciate hanging out with you. We got to get our posed screenshot here. Now, this time you don't have the little figure like you did for Ice and Bone.
No, I could. We're gonna do the. I'll do this instead. Ha-da-da.
There it is. All right, here. Oh, I gotta do the other one so that I can react to what you're doing. Oops, that's not the right button. There we go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Cool. Dude, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking comics and horror and your process and all of the things with me. I love deconstructing how comics come together with creators. Like this is why I started this show. So thank you so much, and thank you for doing everything that you're doing for indie creators.
You're welcome. Did you want a sneak peek of what I'm working on right now?
Yes.
I'll for your audience. You're gonna be the first one live to see this. I did show it backstage at another one, but this is like a live. I can share my screen. Is that allowed?
You should be able to.
Share
If you
screen, window. Okay. Can
I
you
see
see
it.
that?
Add to stage. Yo, what is that?
So that's my science fiction, which I'm just getting I just got the pages in. That's the Pillars of Creation, which is coming hopefully soon. I'm getting all the bits and pieces together. So these are cryopods.
That's
Probably,
awesome.
probably think of it as an Aliens kind of Event Horizon hybrid.
It's definitely got the like claustrophobic feel of just unease. Even just like looking at that's awesome.
Yep. So that is coming soon. That's what I'm working on right now.
I dig it. I dig it. Thanks for sharing that as well. I love being able to say like that's a Long Box Punk exclusive.
Yeah.
Ding, whatever. Aaron, dude, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Hang out after I end this. I got logistics for you, as you know.
Okay.
But for everybody else, I need to be better about doing this. If you enjoyed this, if you liked it, if you know someone that would, share the show with them. Subscribe, do the YouTube thing, and like, comment, whatever. Even if it's like my pal John, who always throws up just this in the comments, I appreciate it. Because it shows that people are paying attention and tuning in and checking it out. And if I can help raise the waters in the indie comics community at any possible way by doing the show, then mission accomplished. So I appreciate everybody checking this out. If you're watching this or listening to this at some future time, like a random Tuesday at 3:00, I hope you have a good whatever it is for you, and go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics. We are out of here. And then we always got to dance. We always got to dance. Da, da, da.